First story, The Silence Below Ashwood Lane. I never used to believe in haunted places. Growing up in Spokane, Washington, everything scary felt like something you only saw in movies. But then I bought the house on Ashwood Lane, and now I can't sleep unless all the lights are on. It started last fall. I had just turned 30 and finally saved up enough for a place of my own. It wasn't much, an old one-story house tucked between two overgrown lots on the outskirts of town. The price was a steal. Too good, actually. The realtor said it had been on the market for a while and the previous owner had left town unexpectedly. That should have been my first clue. From the outside, the house looked like it had given up on itself. Peeling paint, cracked windows, a sagging porch, but it had character. Inside, the wooden floors creaked under every step and the plumbing sounded like it was gasping for air. I didn't care. It was mine. The first time I noticed something was off, I had just moved in. I was unpacking when I heard a soft tapping noise, rhythmic, repetitive, like someone drumming their fingers on wood. It came from beneath the floor. I figured it was just old pipes or rats in the crawl space. I laughed it off. The basement door was in the hallway, heavy, old, with a rusted handle. I hadn't even opened it until the second night. Curiosity got the better of me. I grabbed a flashlight and went down. The stairs groaned like they hadn't held weight in years. The air was damp, thick. The basement was huge, far bigger than the footprint of the house above. The walls were stone, old and uneven. There were markings scratched into them, symbols I didn't recognize. In the center was a hatch, a second door embedded in the floor, no handle, just bolts. I stared at it for a while. Something about it made my stomach twist. I backed away and went upstairs. That night, the tapping returned. Louder, faster. I couldn't sleep. It wasn't until 3 a.m. that it stopped. The next day, I tried to ignore it, kept busy. I even invited a few friends over, just to have company. I didn't mention the basement, but during dinner, my friend Derek asked, "What's with the thumping?" We all went silent. "You hear that too?" I asked. "Yeah," he said. "From under us, right?" We all listened. Tap. Tap, tap. I played it cool, joked that the house was old and probably haunted. Everyone laughed, but I couldn't shake the feeling that the sound wasn't just noise. It was communication. That night, I dreamed of the hatch. In the dream, I was standing over it, and something underneath was whispering my name, over and over. The next morning, I found dirt on the kitchen floor, a trail leading from the basement door, like something had come up. I bolted the door shut. Days passed. I barely slept. My eyes were bloodshot, and I started hearing whispers in places there was no one. I called the realtor to ask about the previous owner. She hesitated, then said he'd been a quiet man, kept to himself. One day, he just vanished, left all his things behind. I asked for his name. She said it was Walter Hensley. Later that night, I opened one of the drawers in the hallway and found a leather-bound notebook. Inside were pages and pages of writing. Mostly gibberish, but one sentence was written over and over again. "Don't open the second door." The tapping became pounding. The house shook, lights flickered. I screamed into the dark, "What do you want?" Silence. Then a whisper, "Feed me." I lost it. Grabbed a hammer, a crowbar, whatever I could find. I went down into the basement and stood over the hatch. My heart was thundering in my ears. I don't remember deciding to open it. It was like something took over me. I tore the bolts out, my hands bled, the hatch groaned open, it was pitch black below. The smell was unbearable, rotting flesh and wet stone. Then something moved. A shape, too big for the space, slithering. Eyes. So many eyes. I fell back and scrambled up the stairs, but the door wouldn't budge. I screamed. The thing was coming up. I could feel it behind me. Then everything stopped. I woke up in the hospital. A neighbor had found me screaming on my porch. The house burned to the ground. The fire department said it started in the basement. No cause identified. They never found the hatch, never found anything below. But sometimes when I walk near Ashwood Lane, I swear I hear tapping from beneath the ground. And sometimes I hear my name. Second story, the hollow beneath Lockwood Street. I've always hated basements. I never liked how cold the air felt on my neck or how the silence there didn't feel quiet, but waiting. Still, when my older brother Darren called from Portland and asked me to check on the old house we inherited from our grandparents, I agreed. I lived just an hour away in Salem, Oregon, and I figured it'd be a quick in and out. The house had been empty since Grandma passed 2 years ago. Real estate agents said it had character, which I knew meant it creaked too much and smelled like mothballs. But I wasn't ready for what I found when I got there. It was late afternoon. Clouds smothered the sky like wet cotton, and the neighborhood on Lockwood Street was dead quiet. The air was heavy as I unlocked the door. Inside, dust floated through the weak sunlight, and everything looked just like I remembered. Brittle furniture, yellowed wallpaper, and that one ticking clock in the living room that never seemed to die. I walked through the rooms with my phone flashlight, checking windows, making sure no pipes were leaking. It was almost boring until I passed the door to the basement. It was open. We always kept it locked. Always. I stood there, staring at the black void beyond the frame. Something about it felt wrong, like it wasn't just open, it was inviting me. I should have left right then, but I didn't. I told myself someone might have broken in, so I pulled out my phone, turned on the flashlight, and started down the steps. The smell hit me first, something between mold and rot, like wet wood left out too long. Then I heard the scratching. Light flickered. I stopped. It wasn't rats, it was closer, almost under the stairs. I shined the light toward the noise, but all I saw were boxes, old Christmas decorations, cans of paint, nothing unusual. Then I noticed something carved into the wall near the boiler. It looked like writing, but it was jagged, erratic, scratched deep into the concrete like someone used their fingernails. "Still down here." A shiver crawled up my spine. I turned to leave, but something moved behind the furnace. "Hello?" I called out, instantly regretting it. No answer. But the scratching started again, louder this time, closer. I stepped back slowly, then the light cut out, total blackness. I fumbled for the stairs, heart thundering, breath short. I swear I felt something brush past my arm, something cold and smooth like wet skin. The light came back. Nothing. I ran up the stairs and slammed the door shut behind me. My hands shook as I locked it, double locked it. I grabbed my keys, about to leave, but then I heard the knock. From the inside. 3 slow knocks, then nothing. I got out of that house faster than I've ever moved in my life, but I couldn't stop thinking about the message on the wall. I called Darren and told him what I saw. He didn't believe me, said maybe I'd seen some old graffiti. I was ready to let it go. Then, 2 nights later, he called me at 3 in the morning. "I went to the house," he whispered. "I saw it. The message, it's not scratched on the wall anymore." I sat up in bed. "What do you mean?" "It's gone, and something's wrong with the basement." His voice cracked. I heard someone breathing. Then the call dropped. I drove up to Portland that morning. The house was dark when I arrived. Darren's car was outside, but the front door was open. I went inside, calling his name. No answer. The house felt colder, heavier. I found his phone on the floor in the hallway, still recording a voice memo. I hit play. Static. Then his voice, "I think it's pretending to be her. I saw Grandma. She was in the corner, but her eyes weren't right." I followed the trail of his footsteps into the kitchen, then to the open basement door. The smell hit me again, stronger now, and something else, singing, soft, broken humming, the tune Grandma used to hum while cooking. Only this time it sounded wrong, slower, slurred, like the voice was melting. I wanted to run, but I stepped down instead. The light flickered again. Halfway down, I saw him. Darren stood at the bottom of the steps, perfectly still, his face pale, his eyes wide. "Hey," I breathed. "We need to go, now." He smiled, but not like Darren. His head tilted, his neck cracking loudly. "I told you," he said in a voice too deep to be his. "It's still down here." Then something pulled him backward into the dark. I screamed his name, bolted back upstairs, and slammed the door shut. I didn't look back. I didn't try to save him. I left the house and never returned. That was 3 weeks ago. Last night, I got a package in the mail. No return address, just my name, scrawled in shaky handwriting. Inside was a single Polaroid. It showed the basement door, wide open, and a figure standing just behind it, smiling, wearing my brother's face. I moved out of Salem this morning, but something keeps knocking on my motel room door, always 3 times, and there's never anyone there. Third story, the silence below Willow Street. I never believed in curses. Ghost stories were just things we told as kids to scare each other during sleepovers, with flashlights under our chins and popcorn in our laps. But what happened to me beneath that house on Willow Street? I still hear it in my dreams, and sometimes it's quiet enough I hear it in my waking life too. It all started when I moved into the old rental at the corner of Willow Street and Harlan Avenue in a quiet town in northern Pennsylvania. Bradford Falls. Population maybe a couple thousand, mostly retirees and families too stubborn or too broke to leave. The house was dirt cheap, too cheap really, but I was 23, broke, and desperate for a place to crash after losing my job in Buffalo. The house looked normal enough, a 2-story white colonial with green shutters and creaky floorboards. But there was one thing I didn't notice until my 3rd day there, the locked door in the hallway closet. It blended in with the wall, painted over a dozen times, nearly invisible if you weren't looking for it. I didn't think much of it at first. Figured it was just access to pipes or an old crawl space. That was until things started changing. It started with the smell. Faint at first, like wet soil or rotting leaves. Then came the noises. At night, always around 3 a.m., I'd hear something moving below me. Not rats, too slow, too deliberate. Footsteps, one at a time, like something was pacing. I told myself it was just the house settling. Maybe a raccoon got in somehow. But when I finally found the old key hidden behind a loose board in the attic, the one that perfectly fit the closet lock, I knew I couldn't ignore it anymore. I opened the door the next night. I don't know why I waited until it was dark. Maybe part of me wanted to be scared. Maybe I needed to prove I wasn't. The door groaned like something hadn't moved it in decades. Behind it, narrow wooden stairs leading down into blackness. No light switch, no bulb. I grabbed my phone and switched on the flashlight. The basement was deeper than I expected. Too deep. It didn't match the house's footprint. The stairs went on for what felt like forever, and when I reached the bottom, I knew something was wrong. It was cold. Not basement cold, tomb cold. The walls were dirt, but not just dug earth. They were scratched, clawed maybe, symbols carved into the support beams, circles and lines and crosses that made my stomach twist. And there were jars, hundreds of them, lined along the walls on rusted shelves, each one filled with something different. Hair, teeth, small bones. Some had names scrawled on them in fading ink. Names I recognized from town, people who had gone missing years ago, people they never found. And then there was the mirror. It was the only clean thing in that basement. Full length, antique, resting against the far wall. I saw my reflection and something else. Behind me, a figure, tall, emaciated, pale as milk. No eyes, just deep black sockets that seemed to breathe. I turned. I looked back. It was closer. My flashlight flickered. The air turned thick. I couldn't move. Then it whispered. Not in words I knew, not in any language I'd heard, but I understood it. It told me to leave, that I'd seen too much, that others had seen too much too, and none of them made it out. I don't remember running back up the stairs, but I woke up in my bed the next morning, covered in dirt. The door was gone, just smooth wall where it used to be. I tried to leave, packed my bags, threw them in my car, but the engine wouldn't turn over. Neither would my neighbors. I tried to walk out of town. Every road bent back toward Willow Street. People stopped talking to me, just stared, even the kids, their eyes too wide, their smiles too tight. Then I started dreaming in that language, the one from the basement. I couldn't remember the words when I woke up, but I'd speak them without meaning to. At the grocery store, at the gas station, people would flinch, step back. One old woman dropped her basket and ran. Last night I saw the mirror again, not in the basement, in my living room, just standing there, waiting. My reflection didn't move. Tonight I hear footsteps again, but they're not below me this time. They're upstairs. and I live alone.